So what we're going to do now is add Semantic UI into our application so that we've got a CSS framework we can work with in our application. And let's go and take a look at the documentation for Semantic UI React. And we'll just go into the documentation here for react.semanticui.com. And I kind of like to use Semantic UI React with React as it's got excellent documentation. And every element that you want to use inside your React application has its own documentation inside here, along with example code and different ways of using the different components to style our application. It also wraps every single Semantic UI CSS element inside a React component as well. And of all the CSS frameworks I've tried with React, this is, in my opinion at least, the easiest one to get to grips with. And it also comes with TypeScript support. So let's take a look at what we need to do to get started with this. Now, we can install it via Yarn, but I just prefer to use npm to install anything into our application. And this will give us the Semantic UI React library. What we also need is the Semantic UI CSS. And to do that, we'll just use the CDN and add this link reference directly to our index.html. So first of all, let's go ahead and install Semantic UI React. And once again, inside our client app, we'll use npm install and semantic-ui-react and press return. And this installs successfully, but there is a warning here saying that one of the packages is deprecated. But we don't need to worry too much about warnings when it comes to installing other packages. You may see this, you may not. If you just install Semantic UI React directly, then you may get an updated version of Semantic UI React that has dealt with this particular warning. But this isn't going to affect anything that we're doing on building this particular application. What we also need inside here is the link to the Semantic UI CSS. And I'm just going to copy this link into my clipboard, head back to VS Code, and inside the index.html, so inside the public folder and the index.html, I'm just going to add the link reference just below this one and paste it in here so that we've got access to the Semantic UI CSS. So let's make use of Semantic UI in our application, and what we can do is we're just going to add a header onto our page. So I'm just going to go into the elements inside here and just take a look at what's available for the header. And if we take a look, we can see that we've got various headers. And what we can do is we can click on this try it link, which will give us sample code for how this is actually created. And what this also gives us is the HTML output we get after using the Semantic UI React components. So let's take a look down here and see what else we've got available using a header. And what we can do is we can use a header with an icon just to prove that Semantic UI is working as we'd expect it. So I'm just going to click on this try it link again. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this header, which is going to be a header as a H2 component. It's going to contain an icon, and Semantic UI has access to font awesome icons by default. When we use Semantic UI React, we already have access to the font awesome icon library, and we can make use of those icons as well. And I'm just going to copy this in its entirety into my clipboard and head back over to my code. And inside the app.tsx, I'm just going to remove the header tag from inside here. I'm also going to remove the image with the logo. And I'm also going to remove the div with the class name from the div here as well. And then I'm just going to paste in the header just underneath the div here. And we also need to bring in the Semantic UI components we're using from Semantic UI React. So what I'm going to do is just literally copy the import here as well into my clipboard and head back over and just paste it over the logo, which we're not actually using anymore. And what I'll do is I'll just make a couple of changes. I'll change the icon to users, and the header content here I'm just going to change to reactivities. And if we save this and we just go and take a look at our page, we should find that we've now got our semantic UI styling for our header component. Now we'll just do the same for our list of values here as well, and if we go back to the semantic UI React documentation, we can see that we've got an element called list, and if we take a look at this, we'll make use of this to display our list of items that we've got on our page just now. And if I click on try it inside here, then I'm just going to copy the list component along with the list items in its entirety into my clipboard and just go back to the browser, and just below the header I'm just going to paste in the contents from my clipboard. Now in order to automatically import something into React, what we can do is, if I just remove the T and then put it back in, then I do get some options to auto import from Semantic UI in this case. And I'm just going to accept this and bring in the list from Semantic UI React, and it's put it into my list of named imports at the top here. And what I'll do is I'll just remove two of these list items, and what we want to do is use the list item in place of this. So I'm just going to cut this from my unordered list and paste it inside my list itself, and then just swap the li I have here with my list item. And once again I need to give this a key, and this is going to be value.id, and instead of apples here I'm just going to replace it with value.name, and then just remove the unordered list completely and just reformat. And let's see how this looks on our page, and I'll head back to the browser tab, and there we go. Not the most exciting application in the world just now, but it does prove that we've now got Semantic UI installed and working and styling our application. And yes, it could look better, I agree. But we've made a start, and we're almost at the end of this particular section. So what we'll take a look at next is saving our changes into source control.